This week's episode was brought to you by Patrick Murphy and supporters like you. If you'd like to help The Whole Rabbit keep making shows about strange esoteric topics every week, please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of $5 gets you access to all our extended shows, a 5x5 vinyl sticker of our cover art, and access to our Discord server, where we discuss the Gnostic symbolism and importance of the new Matrix trailer. My apologies for the irregularity of the release schedule of the show. I'm relocating, focusing on wrapping up some intense personal business, and doing some crunch time stuff at work, which is coming to a close. I promise that research and development has not stopped on The Whole Rabbit, but my editing schedule has been interrupted greatly and may continue to be a bit interrupted. Although I never really planned to take a week off, the schedule might be a bit patchy here or there. I promise things will go back to normal and be better than ever. On this week's episode, we discuss blood from a biological and practical magic perspective. We are joined again by our resident unicorn and research assistant, Heka Astra, who took the lead on this episode and wrote the main body of material for the discussion. If blood makes you uncomfortable, as it does me, you might want to skip it, because there's a lot of it in this one. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
I got a GameCube, but then totally by accident, the first game that I played was like some fucking Saturn game, like a polygonal. They had a couple of those on the Sonic game compilation, so I saw the entire progression.
Malachor, what's going on, man?
I'm on from the kitchen listening to Boeing, drinking beers.
Talk louder.
Oh.
Get your mouth right up on there. Just right up on there. Just get it up on there.
I don't know. You guys hear my fan in the background?
No.
No.
All right, sweet.
I didn't know you had fans.
Oh, that's a low blow.
Oh, wow.
Is it like in the background?
It was at one time in my life.
It's like the monk chants from Resident Evil 4.
You know what they're saying in Spanish?
I know some of it.
They're saying fuck them like over and over.
Fuck 'em.
I just see a video titled, I listened to all 415 Buckethead albums. I had a groomer that tried to get me into Buckethead, and I always just thought he was the lamest motherfucker, like even worse than Ingve, kind of lame. And now I'm even happier that I never started listening to this shit.
I remember when I was a kid, we all spread rumors that he was really Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit.
Ugh.
Jeez.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we do more than just ride our bicycle blissfully down the street, hitting a rock, careening downward, scraping our knee to lick the blood, having an exciting experience, developing Redfield syndrome, which may or may not exist. Nay, we have rough, passionate, dirty sex with a delicious goddess who then splits our head open like an egg, licking our brain cranial tissue, and then implants her eggs directly in it. This is material I stole from Darth Dingus, because on this episode, we're talking about blood. I'm your host, Luke Madrid, the Hacking Rabbit. I'm joined this week by the blood muffin mommy, Mari-sama.
Come on. You know I'm probably part vampire.
Dr. Dingus, the flamethrower phlebotomist.
I was gonna say something about raining on your parade and how this is my podcast now, but I'm not, so you keep the intro. Don't say anything.
And Malachor 5, the Hermetic shotgun of shoestrings. I don't know, man. How you doing, Malachor?
I'm good. I'm back from the Shadow Realm
Excellent.
since last episode.
Yeah, you were stuck in the void.
Yep, sure was.
And this week, we're also joined by research assistant Heka Astra, who helps us write shows, especially when I'm busy.
Hello.
I thought you were gonna say researchist.
Nah. She's the little mouse in the corner that makes sure we're on point.
Pretty much.
I squeak. Squeak, squeak.
Adorable.
We should all be drinking Bloody Marys right now.
I really want one.
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
Hey, what's
good.
up?
Ah!
Ah!
I was always told Bloody Mary was just some waitress who didn't wash her hands, and then everyone
No.
got dysentery and died.
It's Typhoid Mary. I know all the Mary stuff because my name is Mary. Okay, Bloody Mary is is Queen Mary of England, and she killed so many of her suitors or something. I think she was like a serial killer,
Nice.
or
I
she
remember-
married a bunch of men and they all died mysteriously.
I remember there was like another version of that, and it was like it it was like a Mexican version, and they might have also called it Bloody Mary, but it was about this Mexican woman whose kid died or something, and she wandered the villages as a bloody ghost. And if you say the name 3 times in the mirror, she'll show up.
She come get you, yeah.
Yeah.
We were convinced, or at least had each other convinced, that if you said that shit like 100 times in the mirror, Bloody Mary would appear. And that was the bona fide way of having a supernatural experience until about age 8.
Fucking when I was in church, man, even other teenagers, like even people who are approaching adulthood, there are always these people who would talk about, I did the Bloody Mary thing, and she showed up in the window, dude. Or they would even just go, Satan. It was like 1 in 5 people who would have that fucking story.
I heard she just didn't wash her hands so good after pooping.
No, that's Typhoid Mary.
Are we talking about Queen Mary of Scots?
Yeah,
She was a bitch.
Yeah, she was like restoring the Catholic Church, and she murdered all the Protestants. That's what it was. So yeah, that's what Bloody Mary is.
And her sibling was Queen Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, blood. Wait, speaking of the royals, Luke, you're afraid of blood. You know what most of the royal families in all of Europe have because they kept fucking their cousins?
Blue blood.
Hemophilia.
They have hemophilia?
Some of the women die the moment they get their first period.
Yeah, because it's carried on the male allele.
Oh, that's where you bleed a lot.
So if you inbreed a whole ton, the genome can't get out of your family tree.
And this process, this disorder was present even during the time of Queen Mary of Scots.
It means you can't make clotting. Like, it doesn't clot. You just bleed forever until you die.
This was one of those things I heard about as a kid, which was quite scary. I'd heard about other kids who had this, and if they got in a car accident, they could die because they'd bleed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like doesn't that happen when you're anemic, right? Your blood.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of anemia. Well, at least like the anemia that I have is iron deficiency. Doesn't have anything to do with blood clotting. Like my blood clot's just fine. Blood clotting is like to do with platelets, not iron count.
Yeah, it's a protein reaction rather than the hemoglobin in your blood molecule. If you are iron deficient, that means that you can't replenish blood, and your blood also can't hold as much oxygen as somebody else because you don't have enough iron.
Yeah, exactly. And then with the coagulating, that has more to do with what are they, fiber proteins that the platelets cling to.
Mm-hmm.
To cause the closing of blood vessels to stop the bleeding. That's totally separate from
so
anemia.
Hemophilia has to do with a disorder of that protein specifically because you just can't, you don't make the coagulate.
Yeah, I think it has to do with I could be totally wrong, but I think it has to do with the string fiber that the platelets grab onto, like they're attracted to it, or it could have something to do with collagen as well, because the platelets are attracted to collagen in the membrane walls.
So it's not hemophilia I have. It would be hemophobia.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I forget that I have this because it's not a conscious experience. And because of this phobia, this is why I believe in the subconscious mind from an experiential point of view, because when I started experiencing this problem, it was random and in my 20s without any sort of trauma bringing it up. I was using like training swords and fighting Andrew, who's actually a trained sword fighter. So I had no idea what I was doing. I was just drunk. And he comes down on the hilt real hard with his kung fu power with a dull blade, but it felt like he broke my finger, but there was just like a spectacular amount of blood everywhere. I went to go tend to it, and I found myself getting really lightheaded and feeling like I was like getting woozy, and I sat down and kind of dealt with it. And then when I got outside, I began talking about something that also involved blood, and I straight up passed out in front of everyone and like scared everyone.
I must have this too, because I pass out every time if I see blood leaving my body. It has to be my own body. Then I just pass out. It doesn't matter how much or how little it is.
One of the coolest things I've ever seen was the first time I had to go get blood work done, and they put that little like stent. It's like a band in a needle almost, into your arm.
But you can see it come out, right?
Yeah, and when they pull the tube off of it, you get a couple of good squirts across the room.
Oh, oh no! I would have already been passed out when that happened to me.
I fucking love it.
But I had to learn how to stop looking at my arm when I gave blood because every single time I would pass out. But if I look at other people, like if I see blood on the floor or something, like it doesn't really bother me as much. Like it bothers me, but it doesn't make me pass out, right?
It doesn't seem to bother me if it's an emergency, if there's a reason for me to defend myself or a loved one.
Adrenaline.
Or if I have a really hard penis. I might, but if I'm just sitting there and I know I'm not in any mortal danger and there's just blood coming out of my hand in huge amounts, I know to sit down and like put my head down because there's a decent chance I'm going to pass out. And this only happened to me in my mid-20s. And I didn't even remember this until I started researching the episode. And another thing that happened to me for the first time occurred, which is, while I was researching blood, I started feeling like I was cold, almost like I had the chills like you do when you have the fever. And I got like the chills like super, super, super bad, like almost like I was like, and then I started shaking. And it took me a little bit to realize that this was also because of my phobia. And then I was like, I didn't even know what getting the chills were. Like, that's a real thing.
Well, all of your blood went to your extremities. Or it pulled out of your extremities and it made you like feel like you're in shock.
Your blood goes into the core of your body to protect you from bleeding out and make sure that the internal organs have enough.
you empathized with what you were reading.
This also happens when you get cold.
Oh, well, that's exactly what it felt like.
Turn on the heat.
That's the heebie-jeebies.
The Ghiblies?
The heebie-jeebie chills. Yeah.
The oogada-boogadas.
I thought that was
The oogada-boogada.
I thought that was just a figure of speech because ever since you're a little kid, you see it in cartoons when a character gets really scared, like their teeth chatter and they get like
Zoink, Scoob!
Yeah,
you know what?
I didn't know that was real.
I'm still so goddamn disappointed that I can't see my hand bones if I put my finger in a light socket.
Oh, we talked about that on the nuclear radiation episode.
Yeah, you need a nuclear reaction for that.
Oh yeah.
So much like a nuclear reaction, blood is a showstopper. When it comes out, everything else becomes secondary. You ever heard a loud crash followed by, is anybody bleeding? It's kind of a big deal. Even a paper cut. Shakespeare always made sure to have blood or death as well as sex within the first act of all of his plays. Oh, that's a good idea. Get people's attention.
That's how you did it. That's how you still do it.
So it causes the human to take pause at the sight of it. And the color associated with it, red, as is well known by advertisers, causes the sharpest emotional spike in the viewer. And when used in abundance, may even induce fear, paranoia, and sickness. Most simply, it implies danger. So while there are brighter colors, it's the color of blood that draws us the sharpest.
Actually, red is also an appetizer. Like it makes people hungry. It's more if it's combined with orange or yellow, but red induces feelings of passion or even violence or devouring or eating.
It's very much like sex and death.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was going to say red magic is literally sex and violent, like blood magic.
Well, I was thinking about it when I made that comment on having my brains that shit. Eggs in my brain.
Feast it on.
I was wait. Yeah, I was thinking about how that resembles Scorpio, and it's bugs too. Like they have to kill their mate in order to lay eggs.
I mean, they lay the eggs, they eat the mate to put energy into the babies.
But sometimes they lay the eggs in the corpse.
Well, yeah, but the babies feast on it's to provide energy to the children. That's why the mate dies.
Well, this brings us to two things. Did you know that you can actually substitute eggs in your recipe with fresh blood?
No, but
You
I thought it was fucking cool.
Wait. Raw blood is poisonous to humans.
You don't want to drink it, but we're talking about baking, sir. You don't want to eat a lot of raw eggs, although I think you do that, don't you?
But this is fascinating.
I put them in my fucking coffee.
God.
It's fascinating because we were talking about the coagulant proteins. It's partially albumin, which is the whites of the egg. So it makes sense that it makes a good baking substitute for an egg.
Yeah, we have the recipe here. So if you don't have eggs, it's like you said, it's the albumin that works as a coagulant. And if you don't have eggs, when you cook, your recipe's not going to come together right. And I also don't do eggs that well. So if something has a ton of eggs in it, I might be better off with blood. So because of these similarities with the albumin, a substitution ratio is 65 grams of fresh blood for one egg, which is approximately 58 grams, is equivalent. Or 43 grams of blood for one egg white, which is approximately 33 grams normally. So you need a little bit more weight in blood than you would for the egg, basically.
Yeah, because it has other stuff in it.
Maybe it cooks off because it's moist.
Oh, sure, but they also make blood cake in England.
So
Blood pudding.
So as a general rule, if you need egg substitute, you use the same amount of blood, just like a bit more, a little bit more.
It's so interesting to me too that the yolk of an egg and blood itself would be so similar because, you know, life's in the blood.
I've had a duck blood soup before.
Is it good?
That sounds good.
It was really good, but I just felt weird eating it. But I was at a Chinese friend's house, and the grandma was like, yeah, you got to try everything. It's all good. Trust me. And I was like, really? And then she told me it was duck blood. I was like, fuck. I was like,
all
whatever.
made with an assortment of international blood.
It was good, but I'm going to eat it again.
I would definitely try it. Could you see like the red or brown? Could you see it like thick?
Yeah, it's dark brown.
Ew, that sounds
Duck in
good.
it. Very good. Red. Just like
Is it earthy?
Yeah,
Kinda.
cow blood.
Is it savory?
It tastes like regular soup. Tastes like regular soup.
So like a stock, but like more
Oh, it sounds
like
good.
that does kind of sound good.
Is it more of a stew taste than a soup? Or is it like
It's a mix of both, I guess.
Okay,
Because the
okay.
process they cook it.
whatever. Fuck soup. Soup is like one of my least favorite foods. Let's talk
what?
about.
Oh,
fuck you too.
I love soup.
Oh no,
It's the
I
best.
like a good Thai coconut soup,
I think
but
somewhere in the Old Testament it says like never cook a goat in its own blood.
no, it also says not to boil a baby in its mother's milk, and that might have been the goat specifically.
I think
something
that's
about
also a
blood.
good idea to not do those things.
Yeah.
It was such a funny idea to me the first time I saw it, though. I was like, fuck.
There is something interesting about how it tastes familiar because I also feel like everybody licks their wounds. It's just a natural thing. Like when you're young, you lick your wound when you get scraped.
There's a reason for
And-
that, right? It helps
And
clot,
animals,
doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And
You're-
animals do it too.
Your saliva also has a natural painkiller in it.
Animals have, dogs and cats, I know for sure, have antibacterial properties in their saliva. So that's why animals lick their wounds. So that's just a natural thing for somebody to do when they get hurt. So eating blood is not really taboo, in my opinion.
I was watching this video of like this African tribe out hunting a tribe of baboons, and they had wild dogs with them, and one of the dogs got bit by a baboon, and he was just like had a huge gash in his back, and he was just licking it a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
They took care of him. He lived. I was like, damn, it's amazing.
Baboon bite is some serious shit. They got big ass teeth.
Yeah, it's a fucking gang of baboons that this tribe gets in a fight with.
What the fuck is this Joe Rogan experience?
Oh, Ren, there's no dog. There's a baboon. They were trying to get the pig jowls.
It's entirely possible.
Entirely possible.
Listen, so this brings us to the idea that blood tastes good. Much research has been put into recreating the delicious taste of blood. I actually found some info here from, I believe it's the Impossible Burger.
Oh, yeah, this stuff.
People had a hard time selling veggie burgers at the same rate that they could sell beef. Because it doesn't taste as good, I guess.
It tastes like school lunch burgers.
Yeah.
Or Burger King. The
And they're-
Impossible Burger tastes just like the regular burger. It's because it's
Well-
a fake burger.
Well, it can't be rare, except now they have this special molecule that they made. Oh my God, I can't believe they made it out of soybeans. That's weird.
I can't believe I ever ate Burger King. What?
Leg hemoglobin.
Leg hemoglobin, a protein that's chemically bound to a non-protein molecule called heme that gives leg hemoglobin its blood red color. In fact, a heme, or an iron-containing molecule, is what gives blood and red meat its color as well. Leg hemoglobin is evolutionarily related to animal myoglobin found in muscle and hemoglobin in blood and serves to regulate oxygen supply to cells. So this is what gives the Impossible Burger its red color and its, quote, blood taste.
So they
I
just
don't
shove
think,
it.
quote-
They shove it in a soybean protein molecule, and then when you cook it, it bleed like the soybean protein will bleed. It's so weird.
It's
That's
supposed
cool.
Yeah, it's supposed to spit and bleed just like a real burger. I know that they like slather it with coconut oil to give it more fat.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that all of this is literally, it's from visual stimulation, because you can eat, as like Dingus said, these things taste like soy burgers because that's what they are. But visually, people are crazy for these things because they look like real beef.
Whatever I had at Burger King tasted pretty good, but it wasn't beef.
Yeah, but it looks better than a veggie patty. You know,
I mean,
I like a really good veggie patty.
oh, me too.
Yeah,
but
I
I
like
want
it
it to
too.
be a black bean burger. But
Yeah.
But the thing is they're trying to make the veggie burger look like a meat replacement, and that's why people that wouldn't normally eat vegetables are buying this shit.
I think that's an admirable pursuit.
That's
Even
why
the
they
vegans
invented
like it if their food bleeds.
Exactly. It's probably something way more interesting than just eating cardboard all day for them.
Or just say it's some evil shit.
Cardboard.
I'm not evil. Vegans need to eat some meat. It's so sad. Just
Like-
eat an egg, okay? It's a period. You can eat a chicken period. It's not going to be a chick. It's fine.
A chicken period.
Yeah, if you swallow, you're not vegan.
Yeah.
It's because it's like an animal byproduct. They don't like the idea of an animal being raised just for
Yeah, but guess what? The chicken's
You're
going to
an
lay a
animal
million
byproduct.
eggs, and they're going to step all over them and break them, and then they're going to eat them themselves if you don't eat them.
We're not here to make vegans feel bad.
I'm just saying eat the eggs, because they're going to
It's
be there
true.
anyway.
You should have included that in the Bardot. Fucking, if you're a bird, you probably won't make it past the egg phase.
If I forget to take the eggs out of my my chickens' boxes, their nesting boxes, they will eat them, and they'll eat them pretty quickly, like same day.
They
sometimes the
hungry.
next
That makes
day.
sense.
That's awesome.
That's fucking metal.
But birds and lizards of anything that lays eggs, if they don't get fertilized, they'll lay even a clutch of eggs, and they won't be viable. They're
How you
just
like
food.
Wait. Speaking of lizards,
Ever heard that song?
What?
How do you like your eggs, bitch? Fried or fertilized?
Both.
Make my
Funny
eggs and
ass
onions
rap.
cheesy for me.
Wait,
Google
never
is
mind.
officially stupid for me looking up the fucking blood squirting lizard, and then the first 5 results are literally blood squirting lizard. What's the name?
I forgot.
It's a fucking short-horned lizard.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's a
like
short-horned lizard, and when it gets scared, it's got some fucking peacock shit on its neck that it fluffs up, and make it look very large, and then it shoots blood out of its eyes. It also puffs up to twice its body size. It's like all of its blood pressure increases to the degree that it becomes a balloon.
It's a penis
that's
lizard.
great. It's exactly like One Piece.
Crawling.
That's what Luffy
spiky
does.
bone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
except-
exactly what Luffy does.
Except not out the nose.
He shrieks and shoots blood from his eyes.
No,
Well,
he's got rubber power, so he makes his veins rubber, so he can pulsate his blood through his body like at an extreme
Yeah.
fast
Have
rate
you
to go
know-
like Super Saiyan.
Oh, I guess they must have said that around episode 612 or something, right? They finally come up for a reason that it works and then goes, fuck it, put it in there.
That's when
Midi-chlorians, god damn it.
Yeah, he has like 4 different gear modes, and his final one, he turns into a big balloon and he jumps around. It's weird.
That's
Fuck midichlorians. Let's talk about Saddam Hussein. Who put this in the notes?
I
it's
did.
like the dusty
This is
closet.
fucking. This is the most insane fact I've ever read.
All right, let's hear it.
So, like, what in the year 2000? So he's like, after the 90s happened, Saddam Hussein, he wanted the whole Koran written in his own blood, and they had to do like add some chemicals to it because I guess you can't just write with straight up blood,
Color changes when it dries.
and it hardens and chips off. So they
Yeah.
did all this shit to his blood, and this guy named Abbas Shakir Judy, in his version of the events over the 2 years, Saddam donated 24 to 27 liters of his own blood, which was used by Judy to copy the 6,000 verses and some of the 336,000 words of the Quran. Saddam would say in September of 2000, "My life has been full of dangers in which I should have lost a lot of blood. But since I have bled only a little, I asked somebody to write God's words with my blood in gratitude." And he ended up having it on display at a mosque called al-Mariq, which is the mother of all battles in Baghdad. And the mosque, what's funny is that in the front of it, it's got like these towers that you see like around the Taj Mahal, I guess.
Like
And they look
minarets.
yeah, minarets. They look like Scud missiles and AK-47 barrels.
Oh, how do I not? How can I not like this? Jeez.
It
And-
really kind of changes my opinion on him. I mean, he was still evil piece of shit, but I guess he really did believe. We deserve to know more about him.
Yeah, he had the fucking holy book written in his own blood in the center of this whole fucking...
I dare you to find a fucking Protestant Christian who has done that.
That is the most satanic shit ever,
Yeah,
isn't
the
it?
crazy thing, the guy who
It's
wrote
like
it
he
for
made a
him,
fucking Necronomicon for Allah.
he fucking defected and he lives in Virginia now.
What?
Whoa.
Paperclip.
Let's get him on the show.
Let's get him.
Let's get him.
You mean they retired him from his position that the intelligence agencies had him in?
Yeah, and like
Moved him away from Charlottesville.
how often do you think Obama visits?
I don't know.
Iraq?
No, Saddam Hussein in Virginia.
Oh, from the grave?
Oh, no, we hung Saddam Hussein. We're talking about Jody.
Yeah.
You can talk to him if you put your dick in that canoe notch they shot in his forehead so his brains would run out over his face. They do that sometimes.
Yeah, the heads of the churches, though, like the Shia, I think that's the side he was affiliated with.
So the scribe is still alive. That's so cool.
Yeah, he lives over here in the U.S.
He's just an artist, though, right?
No, I'm pretty sure he was like he was part of the whole, what is it?
Dude, all he did his whole life was write with his hand.
I think that now that he's here,
He's an artist.
he should do that with Joe Biden and the Bible.
Oh.
Damn. Yeah.
You know
Hey,
Joe
I
Biden
mean,
doesn't read the Bible. Why would he have his blood written in
None
that?
of these assholes read the Bible.
I don't know if he's got 24 liters, you know.
Dude, he would do us all a favor if he just extracted the last remains.
They think that he's bullshitting, that it's not his blood. Like, if he gave that much blood, he'd be, like, in trouble.
He probably exaggerated, but still. You could make ink. You could infuse blood into ink and then pretend that it's like, oh, we had 46 liters of ink that has your blood in it. So you could say...
I'm going to piss off like half the people listening to this podcast. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
Go.
He still doesn't lie as much as Trump.
Oh.
Fucking 70.
Sick burn. Oh, that was so good.
You know it's true.
I wonder how much blood the president drinks every day.
All I gotta say is...
Rip the 200 people left in Afghanistan. Moving on.
Yeah.
Free
Look.
Britney and Assange. And I want my own helicopter, okay? Can I get a helicopter? So where does
You
blood...
have to go to Afghanistan.
where does blood come from, okay? I'm
Where
surprised
did
it
the
didn't...
ice camps put the ovaries?
Wait, what?
You didn't hear about that? There was a fucking ice camp actually here in Georgia that had almost like a Mengele situation going on. There was this doctor that coerced a couple hundred women into getting their ovaries taken out, and a good portion of them didn't know the procedure that they were going to have done to them beforehand.
Well, that's very bad.
It's all bad.
Anyway, where does blood come from?
The bone marrow.
Yeah, and you know it's good to eat too.
Yeah, that also tastes good. I wonder why.
Bone broth is like really good for you.
It's like butter.
And
I'm
it
one of those
tastes really
weirdos
good.
that like fucking sucks all the marrow out of the chicken bones, and everybody stares at me when I do it.
It's good for you.
Probably because I keep laughing when I do it.
Sometimes, like, the bone marrow kind of oozes out, like the side of like a thigh, like a well-cooked thigh, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's all the good stuff right at the end.
It's like melted butter. It's so good.
I think of all of us, Malachor would know the most about well-cooked thighs.
Thick.
So bone marrow is the soft, spongy material in the center of the bones. It produces about 95% of the body's blood cells. Most of the adult body's bone marrow is in the pelvic bones, breastbone, and the bones of the spine.
And your femurs.
See, this I do know. When you have leukemia, that's like a bone marrow problem.
And it affects all your blood cells because it affects it at the source. It's a cancer of bone marrow.
Yeah, it's really sad. The blood is a complex chemical. I think we all kind of should know that, right?
It's like a cocktail of chemicals. Like it even includes fucking rust.
Well, your blood is 55% plasma and like 45% red blood cells, and then I think the rest is like white blood cells, or I think they're called leukocytes. I can't remember exactly, but
Lymphocyte.
I think they're leukocytes.
Well,
I think
lymphocyte is
they're-
also a white blood cell of some type.
The red blood cells, they eject their nucleus like as soon as they enter the bloodstream. So
Oh.
The leukocyte is a colorless cell that circulates in the blood and the body fluids and is involved in counteracting foreign substances and diseases. A white blood cell. There are several types. All amoeboid cells with a nucleus, including lymphocytes, granulocytes, monocytes, and macrophages, are leukocytes.
It's a
Yeah.
wider frame. Okay, cool.
yeah, the red blood cells eject their nucleus, or nuclei, I guess, plural, when they enter the bloodstream. And the reason why they do that is because of the hemoglobin in the red blood cells. So the center of the hemoglobin has the iron molecule in
So
it,
they
and
must put the iron molecule there instead of the nucleus.
well, the reason why is that they have that iron molecule at the center of the hemoglobin, and the iron is what has the affinity for oxygen. So when blood goes through and pumps through the heart, gets reoxygenated, the more room that your red blood cells make to hold onto hemoglobin, and because of that iron, the more oxygen and the more efficient that those blood cells can be in carrying oxygen and other things as well, proteins or whatever, to the rest of your body. So that's the whole reason why they eject the nucleus.
And the nucleus houses the DNA, so in effect, they perish. They cannot procreate or separate or reproduce, right? Because they gave that up.
I think this is the reason why science has had such a hard time and hasn't been able to figure out how to synthesize blood, is because of that.
Yeah, because there's really no DNA signature for that cell unless you have the bone marrow stem cell that makes the hemoglobin cell.
I was going to ask, how did you even encourage, like, say you made a batch of blood cells with the nuclei, how do you encourage them to eject their nucleus? Do you have to do that before that gets in the body, or after?
How do the blood cells know to eject their nucleus?
Yeah, like,
I think that would be like whenever you are creating cells through mitosis or replicating your own DNA, then it's going to be programmed to become whatever the body needs.
Well, I mean, yeah, that, but I'm referring specifically to, say, they make a batch of external blood cells. They put it into the body. Is there a chemical signature that they'll miss because at some point in the body they have to go through a tissue in order to enter the bloodstream?
They can't make it. That's the problem. They can't make blood.
That's why you have blood donors, because you can't create it. It's created inside of your bones while you're alive.
It's a hypothetical.
Every individual blood cell, including white blood cells, will have like a plasma barrier. And if I'm not mistaken, the plasma barrier, it has a process of selection. So it basically tells the blood cell whether it's going to absorb this or eject that. The plasma barrier is around all of the cells and kind of dictates whether or not it's going to give oxygen or take in whatever else.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about now. Like, how does the van know when to pack and unpack the stuff? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Well, sorry.
I just thought that it wouldn't know. I thought at some point that there would be some kind of chemical presence that would cause the cell, when that chemical is detected, the cell ejects the nucleus.
Well, there might be a signal in a protein or some kind of process, but it's something that's
what I was referring to.
But it's inside the cells. Once they're made, they know that they have a chemical process that happens in it, and it does it automatically.
Yeah, if I can interject real quick, like the whole DNA and like the roles of like each of the cells that's like the low, like as above so below. That's the magic at like the below that we can kind of notice, and maybe we don't need to know the details on how all these things work, but just understanding that it does happen is really helpful to the magician.
And there are plans, that are executed out, and you can measure and watch them happen and unfold. And that's literally, I mean, blood carries so much more, and it's ironic that blood doesn't have a nucleus with DNA in it, but we use it to mark our ancestral lines.
Yeah, I think the presence of DNA inside of the blood is really important, and why it's magical.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that.
It's something that everybody feels about blood. It's an undeniable power. And even for me, it operates on a subconscious level. So when this life-giving power is applied to occult practices, that power in life can be directed to specific purposes through the intent of the practitioner. Blood magic is an ancient practice and has existed in many spiritual methodologies throughout history. So, before we get too much deeper, we'd like to touch on the admixture of science and spirituality and how they come together in this substance we call blood.
So the biological significance of blood, as well as other bodily fluids, organs, and their corresponding functions, they're directly linked with their spiritual significance in practice. So to think that the scientific understanding of biology has no actual relevance to spirituality and vice versa, that's a pretty ignorant place to sit. As astrophysicist Carl Sagan once said, the notion that science and spirituality are somehow mutually exclusive does a disservice to both. In fact, that they're intertwined. And even more famously acknowledged by Albert Einstein, quote, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind."
He would know because he was a radical dude.
Well, also, Albert Einstein believed in Spinoza's God, which literally is the god of spirituality, or even chaos, I would argue.
He's saying balance between the two.
Absolutely, and he recognized it.
The linking of biology to spirituality is also not new.
Back when they drill a big fucking hole in your head for being stupid or having a headache, it would relieve pressure on the brain. They knew that for a long time.
And then you'd die, and then you'd be fine.
No, some people, they'd have like a internal bleeding in the brain, and some doctor way back when was like, no, drill a hole. We got to drain the blood or he'll die. And
yeah, because it'll increase the pressure on the brain.
Like trepanation.
The Spaniards actually did that to great effect too.
Well, in ancient Egypt, when they were busy perfecting mummification, they didn't consider the brain to be something that they like leave in there. So at some point, somebody got the idea to cut the brain in half and take a look at it. And we can see that the eye of Ra, Horus, resembles the profile views of the pineal gland and its surrounding glands, also known, of course, as the third eye. This is linked to our body's production and metabolism of DMT, the quote spirit molecule, melatonin, and this links into the regulation of our circadian rhythms. So this has been going on a while. People have been being like, oh, biology, oh, spirituality go together.
In Hermetic alchemy, there is the trinity of sulfur, mercury, and salt, which make up all things in the animal, vegetable, mineral, and metallic realms. These three elements symbolize the aspects of soul, mind, and body that all of the realms can be broken down into a single physical manner, both functionally as well as being symbolic of spiritual processes. In many religions, breath work is utilized where we breathe in to take in positive energy and breathe out to release negative energy. The same function exists on a biological level for each breath we take. We breathe in to provide new oxygen to our blood via the lungs, which then circulates through our bodies. The blood brings nourishment and life until the deoxygenated blood returns to our lungs to release the carbon dioxide through exhalation.
Now we imagine breathing in a silver cord of light, and as we exhale, we imagine black goop.
A string of profanities.
Of credit debt and crying children and
Why are you
lost
so
job
good at this?
opportunities as it exits our body and we give it to the heavens.
You could make money selling tracks, dude.
I hope God suffers with this one.
Old Rabbit ASMR coming soon.
No. Meditation guidance tracks.
Now this is what we spoke about with as above, so below, and its believers have not been few. For instance, Galileo was a profoundly religious man, but he was also a philosopher and scientist. He existed during a time and a great debate was found between science and the church. He once said, "It is surely harmful to souls to make it heresy to believe what is proved. It vexes me when they would constrain science by the authority of the scriptures, and yet do not consider themselves bound to answer the reason and experiment." So Galileo was like, look, if we observe it and it disagrees with the scriptures, it would be bad to the spirit to ignore that.
Well, the church begged to differ.
I think they just want to kill everyone who disagreed.
It's actually really interesting to me because pretty much the devil of the Christian faith is Venus. It's Lucifer. It's like a Venus archetype, right? They've always put that particular emanation has always been in the seat of their devil.
Yeah.
So when the Enlightenment era comes around, it's spurred on by an old fucking poem from Rome, found by a noble about Venus and about what we would now call rationalism, looking for answers by observing the world, which the church at every point tried to stifle.
So this association between science and the devil and Lucifer goes way back.
Yeah, like Lady Liberty, who do you think she is? She's a light bearer.
They
She's the
buried
one-
those dinosaur bones to test your faith.
Is she the one that coughed on the natives?
No, that was Uncle Sam. That was Uncle Sam.
Okay.
That was her fuck boy.
She could have gave the natives the clap then.
She would if she could.
I would not. Never mind.
This brings us to Blood Magic, which is a song by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think. But Seriously, folks, why do they have peanuts on airplanes? The option for blood to be used in Magick are as follows. You have regular blood, you have menstrual blood, if you're someone that menstruates, of course. So don't go stealing other people's menstrual blood, okay?
Yeah.
But that is, of course, an option. You can use someone else's blood. Animal blood,
Can I have
or...
some of your
Please get
God,
consent
blood.
if you do that. You can easily get consent. It's pretty cool.
Or just don't get caught. Definitely. If you don't get consent.
No, ask first.
Ask first. You need fresh blood. You don't want digging the trash. That's gross.
You can kill people, but don't fuck them. That's excessive.
Oh, you could.
I mean,
Well, that's an extra charge.
You could. You could very well do that.
I'm just saying, like,
Dare
could
you,
easily be-
mortal man,
You
plunge
could
your
easily-
sword in the chalice?
you. Okay, thanks, Crypt Keeper. Read me a story while I do it, huh?
All right, sure. Once upon a time.
I don't like it.
Then shut up. Let's move on.
There's also blood
Smells like
alternatives,
fucking powdered Kraft cheese.
Powdered Kraft cheese.
which is one alternative. We also learned earlier that soybeans are another. So
Mm-hmm.
now, if anyone thinks that this is anti-Christian of us to discuss on the show, and that we have spoken too poorly of the church, we would like to bring your attention to the 27 chapters of Leviticus, which are about blood sacrifice.
Oh boy.
And if his offerings be of the flocks, namely of the sheep or of the goats, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish. And he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Lord. And the priests, Aaron's sons, shall sprinkle his blood round about upon the altar. And he shall cut it into his pieces, with his head and his fat. And the priest shall lay them in order on the wood, that is to be on the fire, which is upon the altar. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water. And the priest shall bring it all, and burn upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. Brutal motherfucker.
So God, in the Bible, loves the smell of burnt offerings. It's a sweet savor.
If you wash it,
Lord God.
you gotta wash the shit out of it first. Don't burn some poopy.
I think it means you have to wash its testicles. I'm
That's
not an
kinda
expert.
like-
I think the inwards is the innards.
I think
Yeah,
it means its thighs. I think it means its
I
balls,
thought it
Mari.
meant the testicles. I think it meant like up under the legs and stuff. Because I almost read it as innards.
Oh, I was gonna say, okay, then God wants you to wash your stanky ass before he has communion with you.
Well, there's another bit in another book, the Pentateuch, Old Testament, first 5 books, whatever,
Books of Moses.
where God tells the Jewish people, or Moses, whichever one, I forget, to always keep a spade in your tools because you have to bury your shit or it offends God. King Shit, a turd mountain, wants us to bury it.
Who wants to read the next part?
I guess we're supposed to be nice.
Does anyone else want to read the Bible, or do I do it?
Let's keep reading Leviticus. I'm not done with Leviticus.
I want to read. Does Heka or
Okay,
Malachor
read
want to
it.
read or not?
Not the Bible.
All right, Bible time. Someone's a snob. All right, Karen, I'll do it.
I'm just kidding.
All right. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be of fowls, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons. And if the priest shall bring unto the altar and wring off his head and burn it on the altar, and the blood thereof shall be wrung out at the side of the altar. And he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers and cast it beside the altar on the east part, by the place of the ashes. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto the Lord.
For a God that was so famous for killing people for fucking up rituals, he sure could have said this in less words.
How about, like, God enjoys the savory wood-fired flavor of your sacrifices?
There's no excuse for any sentence here to have a fucking semicolon. There's not.
Heka, please.
It's not just wood offerings. There's like the entire book of Leviticus is 27 chapters long, talking about what sins require what sacrifices. So if you're guilty of this sin, this is the kind of animal that you sacrifice. This is what you do with its blood. There's a lot of spraying blood around on certain parts of the altar. There's a lot of burning the dead animals. There's 27 entire chapters. The entire book of Leviticus is all about animal sacrifice, and it's quite often skipped over. I went to church up until grade 10, and not once did they ever mention the book of Leviticus, because it's kind of something that a lot of Christians don't really want to acknowledge is in the Bible.
Burn it with fire.
Let me get this straight.
Oh, such a limited imagination.
It's not like it's an unimportant aspect of Christianity. Isn't Jesus Christ considered the Lamb of God, and it's his ritual sacrifice that sort of
And you're
liberates
covered
all
by
of
the
humanity?
And they have to keep drinking his blood at every communion, and it's really weird.
Some of them believe that the grape juice, they actually drink wine because they're heathens. They believe that when they drink it, it actually does turn into blood. They definitely believed it in the Middle Ages.
Oh,
I think
sure.
they called it transfiguration or something like that.
Yeah.
I was most stoked about drinking juice and eating donuts because that was what my church gave us.
Oh, no.
Instead of bread and wine.
Abomination. I love the Jesus crackers. They're so good. I volunteered to be an altar girl because I wanted to eat them.
I think maybe it's just hard to get kids to
Also, port
eat
wine is
plain
great.
bread.
Dude, port wine is so good. You only need a little bit.
I'm a beer guy.
A little sip will do you.
Dude, the Jews have it figured out. It's called bagels and cream cheese and lox.
I mean, how do you think they got people? How do you think they got heathens to come to church? Obviously,
Bagels.
Drink your wine with reverence.
Yeah, give some
until
wine
it's
out for
almost
free.
empty.
Look, if I'm joining any religion because of their food, it's going to be the Sikhs, okay? That's it.
Oh, I
hell.
love. Everybody loves the Sikhs.
Oh
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah. Sikhs are pretty cool.
You don't even have to join to go and eat with them.
Yeah, they're
This is
awesome.
true.
They
This is
open their
true.
temples to like any traveler. I'm sure they've committed atrocities in the past, though.
Dude, I did grow up in the Anglican church, which is like they copycatted Catholicism, but it was Protestant.
All right, so Bloody Mary had something to do with King Henry. I'm not English. I forget the fucking order, but
Yes.
King Henry created
Seventh?
the Anglican Church. It was either the 7th or the 8th, so he could get a divorce because the Catholic Church would not continue to give him
Yes.
divorces and annulments.
Yes, and
He-
yes.
That's it. That's the reason.
And that's why the bloodbath ensued.
You gotta love the British. The bloodbath actually ensued like several fucking times too, because then later on you had there was another Catholic Reformation, and then there was fucking Oliver Cromwell, he might have been the Catholic or the Protestant. I don't know. Fuck it. They keep killing each other over whether or not to get divorced. So why sacrifice?
Well, because women and children are property. That's why you need marriage. Wait, what are we talking about? Sorry.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Got it. So why should you sacrifice? Because the Bible
Because
says
the
so.
Bible says so. Do it. Do it now.
So as
Yeah,
much
but-
as you want to accuse me of being a Luciferian and whatever Thelemite on the show, if you go read my religious book, my God says, don't give this type of sacrifice. Just burn incense and get naked and have fun and gather spices and shit. So don't come to me about this shit because I don't do it. We are going to talk about it though, from a historical standpoint and from a how to do it standpoint, just a little bit here before the free show is over. So the entire reasoning behind animal sacrifices of old religions was that the loss of livestock was indeed a sacrifice of personal means. Your livestock was food for yourself and your family. Loss of an animal in ancient times meant taking the food out of your mouth or your family's mouths. And that's why Yahweh got a kick out of it when he got a burnt offering. So, sacrifice is to show that you're willing to give something in exchange for the energy to return to you in some kind of way,
So
even if it
would you
meant
be
killing your own
punished
son.
Would you be punished if you gave like a lame animal instead of the best one?
There were multiple instances of this in the Bible. And of
Ooh.
course, the story of Cain and Abel, speaking of blood.
Yep.
So yeah, Abel was loved more and preferred by God
Because
because he gave a
vegan.
proper sacrifice.
Because he was a vegan.
I didn't know that part, but the other
He
one,
grew crops.
okay, but one of them, the one that had the favor, gave like a proper sacrifice of an animal, though.
Yeah, and it
Abel.
also
Yeah.
Oh, so Cain
what I
was the
was getting-
vegan. Oh my
yeah.
God, Cain was a vegan. Oh, and everything makes
I don't-
sense now.
Wait, I don't know. Just let's
No,
get
you're
the
right.
story out.
No, that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, because
Alright.
Abel sacrificed the animal, and Cain couldn't grow the crops because it frosted or something. And, he
And
killed
God
his
was like,
brother.
no.
Yes, that's how it goes. Thanks.
I mean, in Leviticus, it does actually specify as well that, you know, your animal that you're sacrificing has to be in good health. It'll specify, like,
It's got to be like no spots.
yeah, no blemishes. There's even stuff too about, like, if you have no livestock, then, like, yeah, you do have to sacrifice whatever types of grains or bread.
Well,
But
this would make sense that if you had the best that you would have would be a young animal because it doesn't have any ailment or problems.
Mhm.
Think about it from like an Aztec sense too. If the way they selected the heart to bite was by choosing just the most beautiful person they could find in the crowd and say, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Get him. Fuck him. Kill him.
Well, interesting thing about some of the Mesoamerican tribes is that they would do ritual bloodletting like out in the middle of the plaza, but it was only the highest nobles who would do it, and they would do it to their genitals. Sometimes.
Ugh.
As a
Ah.
display of like I'm giving it to the Lord right now.
Well, whenever
was-
they'd behead someone during the revolutions in France or just in general, people would be like, I want to touch the blood because it's royal blood.
Vive la révolution
I got royal
du
blood.
fromage sacré.
That's kind of similar. People are really about that. They're really about like the spilling of the holy blood in the central like area. People have been doing this for a minute. Hold on. I want to say something for Cain. I know you said it was because he was vegan, and I understand the humor here, but listen.
I'm just
I was
silly.
vegan.
From a Gnostic perspective, okay, God was fucking scared. What does it take to, like, you know, an animal, to, like, take care of an animal? God didn't like that Cain had power over the earth and had power to change it.
Cain was fraternizing with the Mother Earth.
He had
illegally.
power over the earth. He was just supposed to be a being of clay that tended to it. He wasn't supposed to have actual power. So when he laid the broccoli on the altar, God was like, oh, fuck that. Only I make broccoli.
What the hell is that?
It's poison. Get it out of here. Kill him.
In this way, if God is the demiurge, then that makes sense because the demiurge would be jealous and punish somebody like that.
He doesn't want you having that power. That's the stuff Azazel brought us. He was like, all right, fuck this. God didn't give you shit. Here's makeup so you can look good while you fuck. Here's some weapons so you can kill each other when you have an argument. And
Here, wear this because you're too ugly.
basically,
Here, use this because you're weak as fuck.
basically. Yeah, here's an equalizer, wimpy smart guy. Here, take a sword. Here, kill the guy who's fucking bullying you for once. And thirdly,
me-
you can use these things to sow seeds and to make crops and shit. Now you don't have to fucking be at the mercy of God all the time. You can grow your own fucking crops. And God was
All
just like,
that-
oh my God. Cain's been fraternizing with this motherfucker. Now they can't
God
be my
is like,
slaves.
oh my God.
All that shit you just said, and the only imagery I have of it is a very tall angel with a level grabbing the bottom of somebody's fucking like left eye that is like an inch lower than the right one, and then pushing it up to be with the level. And then he says, fixed.
Well, that's why they were pissed that, like, God gave these things faces like they had, and they were just watching them suffer without any help, and they're like, all right, God, you've gone too fucking far, dude. In this way, it's simply not just like, hey, give me a favor, God. You got to give something in exchange, right? This approach of animal sacrifice is part of this ancient belief system with taking the food out of your own mouth and getting something in exchange. And this is based on an idea of how energy cycles through the universe, one of give and one of take. Killing just any animal would not actually be a sacrifice, since the nature of a sacrifice is something that you give up. So if the person asking for a favor has not sacrificed anything that affects them, there's little or no value to the sacrifice. So it's actually like the pain that's meant to appease the gods.
Well,
it's the loss.
If you think about it, a good animal that's raised correctly is loved and fed well, treated well, grazed every day and cleaned. You know what I mean? So they're almost like pets. And if you understand how the way we treat pets now, in effect, a sacrifice of a really good animal would be like giving up your pet.
Ugh,
Or
that does
be like
suck.
giving up. Yeah, it would suck because it would be your best animal. It would be your prized animal, your pride and joy. And you would want to have to give that to God to have a better crop next year. You know,
Abraham is like,
and
wow.
Abraham is giving up his own son. He
Which he
like went to
had
the
when he was-
altar with a child, a human child.
No, wait, but here's like, there's more context too, because he was fucking 200 when he had it.
Well, yeah, but he had young wives. I mean,
He had young wives, but like, if a fucking 80-year-old man bangs a young woman now and like miraculously has a child,
It's got the blue pill hookup. You
the
guys.
chance, the chance that child's gonna come out fucked up in some way is like high.
But biblical lifespans were like 500 years. So they were still viable at that point.
I've heard it both ways.
It's really interesting if you read between the lines with the numbers. It was interesting that Abraham was willing to take his firstborn son, like his pride and joy, to the altar for God. And then Gabriel's like down like, lol, just kidding, bro. Don't do that. God was just fucking with you to see if you were like legit.
Punked MTV.
Now there's this thing about foreskin, but I'm not kidding this time.
Oh, I can't.
Oh, no.
Is this what happens to Moses' kid?
I don't
This
know.
is always my favorite thing in the Bible.
I just know I want mine back. That's all.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we should never cut them off again.
I have a foreskin story.
please.
Okay, well, just do yours first.
Oh yeah, they took half of mine.
Half?
Yeah, they didn't want me to not be able to like jerk it, you know.
But, I mean, you could...
Wait, why would
I
you
don't
put
have any
someone in
trouble with
between of
that.
that? That's so
Yeah!
weird.
What the fuck? Half?
I didn't agree to it.
I'm so sorry, Luke, but you have a chance. You might can have it again.
Yeah, I mean, look...
Whereas
I don't know.
circumcised guys are fucked.
Look, I mean, maybe, like, I guess the fucking women you've been with know better, but that kind of implies you've got a weird dick.
It doesn't
I don't
cover
know
anything.
anybody else.
It looks like a pretty normal dick. My dick is like the Ford Fusion of dicks. There's not a whole lot. Like they're not. It's not small. It's not big. It's
Dang
not
it, I
slow.
have
It's
to
not
disagree.
fast. It's just kind of a dick.
Huh?
It's probably a never mind.
No, I was...
Let's keep
what were
talking
you
about
go-
blood
okay.
and vaginas. 'Cause
Well, let
that's-
me say whose dick is definitely fucked up. Moses' kid. So when I was in 8th grade, when I was a kid, I was grounded like all the fucking time. And so sometimes the only thing that I could do to entertain myself was read the Bible. This also had the added effect of making my family lay off of me because it's hard to bitch at somebody who's telling you about the Bible. So all Jewish male children, all Jewish boys, when they're born, they got to get their foreskin cut off. And really, when you're in the desert, when you're wandering in the desert for 40 years, it's kind of hard to find the time or the good tools for this kind of job. So one day, God shows up to Moses and he's like, "Hey, bitch, where's my fucking foreskin?"
Uh-oh.
And he didn't cut his son yet, so
Uh-oh.
God was literally about to kill Moses' child,
Fuck.
and so they laid him down on a big flat rock, or they laid his dick down on one, and they got a smaller rock, and they put that bitch on that boulder, and they just banged, they fucking smashed his foreskin off with a pebble, dude.
That's great.
And I don't know if they did this afterwards, but in some Jewish traditions, it is a tradition for the mother to suck the son's cock afterwards.
You lad.
Aw.
No, but the rabbis do it now. It's okay.
Oh.
Well, you know the reason. Here's the reasoning that they give you for this fucking
Okay, but
weird
it's
ass
still a
tradition.
sin. It's still a sin if they get a boner while they're doing it.
Well, but
Just putting that out there.
Oh my god.
oh, it is. That sucks if they're old. See, if you wait till they're too old, then it's a sin, right?
Yeah, I would definitely rather
Because
get.
it would definitely be a sin at that point.
I would definitely rather get from the rabbi that just got out of rabbi school than
Well,
from the one that's been out for
No,
50
but
years.
if you're a baby, okay, like no. This is why kosher, when they snip boys and it's kosher, they have to have a rabbi come in and suck the wound.
Kosher pickled foreskin.
Because back in the day, like you said, they were in a climate where it was really harsh. There's dust and dirt everywhere, and whenever there's an open wound, you have to like make sure it's clean. So they would suck and spit until it would clot.
Quitter.
All right.
So it's kind of it was a treatment of some kind, but the fact that they still do it now is kind of like really interesting.
It's really fucked up because now I'm also trying to level out whether I would rather be molested by my mom or my priest.
And if
I was
you'd
gonna
like
say-
to know the actual answer to whether or not you'd rather be by one of those
Oh.
things, no.
Oh
I can't do that.
Jesus!
I
No,
can't-
you
I
can't do that.
I
do that.
can. My
Can we
family,
like
I
let's
don't even
tease
have
them?
like a
Can we
great
tease them with the
relationship.
eating with blood stuff? Let's tease them about that hematophagy.
If you'd like to hear more about burning blood, anointing with blood, ancestral workings with blood, sacrifices and offerings, menstrual blood, jisms, sex magic,
And being obsessed with eating blood.
please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your donation of just $5 earns you access to all our extended episodes, a fancy sticker, and access to our Discord server. Thank you, everybody. Eat carrots and shoot lasers.